Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, we're going to meet E. Paige Burks from Texas by Skype with Return to Royalty. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. You look so much sweeter than I could have imagined the person who wrote this book.
Oh, that's funny.
Seriously, it was so good. Jet is Jet like a serial killer, one of the main characters? Not really sure where he's going or how bad he was or is.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. They have like this kind of warring society, so I guess you could say that.
Yeah. So how did you come up with him?
That's a good question. So when I was in high school, I started writing this book, and I had a lot going on emotionally, as most people do when they're in high school. And just his personality was that, deepest, darkest, kind of grossest part of you. And I wanted to take that and then eventually morph it into something that people would like. So that's kind of where he came from.
Oh, that's great. Now tell us a little bit about the main characters and the young woman who becomes a princess.
Mm-hmm. So her name is Nyx. She was actually born in this place called Gexalacia, which is in like another dimension. But because, like I told you, they're a warring society, so there was a war going on, and her parents were murdered. So her grandmother, who is the queen, decided that she needed to be sent away to protect her. So they sent her to Earth, and she was raised there. And now that she's old enough to come back and to understand what's going on, the queen has decided Jet's the best person to go get her because he is the strongest person she can think of. So there's a pretty good chance that if she sends him, he'll be able to bring Nyx back.
Yeah, but there were a lot of problems with that happening.
Yes, there are.
Which was really well done. It's so chaotic.
Yes, it is. It's a mess.
So how did you come up with the whole storyline? Do you live out in the middle of nowhere in Texas?
So I actually live in Houston, but I have my parents own a piece of property out in a place called Madisonville, which is about an hour or so north of Huntsville. And that's nowhere. Like up until just a couple of years ago, there was no cell phone reception. We didn't even have water or electricity out there. I mean, that's truly nowhere. And so that was a lot of inspiration for me, was just having that feeling of being isolated. And actually, the place where the portal is in the book is based on a place there on the property that has like a cut into it. And I was like, oh my God, that would be perfect. So that's what I based that on.
Oh, because the world building was really well done. That makes sense.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
What other places did you use to create your world building?
I may have drawn some inspiration from when I went to Tennessee as a kid. We did a lot of driving up through the mountains and things like that. And I've just always enjoyed being outside, being in the woods, those kinds of things. And I thought that the small town feel would fit the story the best,
Right. And is that how Nyx got a liking for nature and the outdoors.
Yes, yeah. When you're out there and all you have is big pastures and everything, I mean, you can't help but like nature.
True. But what about all the mags? Mags. M-A-G-E-S. I can't pronounce it today.
Mages.
Mages and monsters.
Yes.
Where did those come from?
So, so Sophia's monster, her golem that she created, this is really random. I have a sticker on the back of my laptop, and it is an inkwell that is tipped over, and out of the ink is a dragon. And so it says what happens when writers spill ink. So that's where I got the idea for the golem was, oh my God, a golem made of ink would be really, really cool. And then the other monsters like the Sagiers. I don't remember if the Sagiers are in the book or not. They may be book 2. But they're like werewolf creatures. I've always really liked werewolves and vampires and, those kinds of things. But I didn't want to straight rip off those stereotypical things. So I wanted to do something a little different with them. So that's kind of where those came from.
Well, you did a good job because it's definitely vampire-ish, but not really vampires.
Yes. Yes.
And what about the race? Is it Auresi? Auresi?
There's Auresi, which is the white magic users, and there's Acerbi, which are the dark magic users. And so Nyx would be Auresi and Jet would be Acerbi.
And where did you come up with the rules for the magic system that both of those use?
Those have changed a lot over the years. So like I said, I started writing this when I was in high school, which was in like 2007. So this has been a big project for a very long time. And the rules have just adapted over time with what I thought made sense for the world and what I wanted them to be able to do, especially with the fact that in the beginning of the book, Nyx's magic is suppressed because she doesn't know how to use it. So what we learn later, spoilers, is that they share like a spirit connection with some kind of spirit on another plane, and that's where they get their magic from. So that the different race, Auresi, Acerbi, really refers to the type of spirit that they share the connection with and that they get their magical abilities from.
It was really well done. How long did it take you to write? So 2007?
I didn't get that. 15? Like 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
And how many books are going to be in the series?
4. I'm working on book 3 right now. It's been a work in progress, but I'm shooting for March.
Oh, great. And how long did the second book take?
The second book actually only took like 6 months because I was already on a roll from the first book. So to give you a little backstory of the first book, I decided in 2014 that I was going to quit my job. I was working retail and I was like, I hate retail. So I decided that I was going to write full time. And so I rewrote that whole story like 3 times during that time period because I was like, there's a lot that I want to convey, but this is not the way that I want to tell it. And so after I finished it, I sent it in to the Author U Awards thing, and it won the first place in its category. And because I was already on a roll, I was like, I'm going to write book 2. And so I just knocked it out super quick. But then after that, book 3, I've been dragging my feet for a couple of years now.
I know, and you were a Best Book Awards finalist for bestbookawards.com. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
That's outstanding for your first book.
Yeah, I was pretty excited.
I'm still trying to figure out how you got so dark.
I don't know.
Wow. Now, how does yoga and meditation fit into your life and the book in general?
Um, I actually enjoy yoga. I'm not very good at it, but I try. And I feel like meditation. I feel like that's really important, especially since after I had my son, I was having a lot of mental health issues. And one of the things that really, really helped me was just at night, when I would lay in bed, I would just do like a short meditation, and I would feel so much better because I would feel like I would get all the weight of the day off of me. And I just felt so much better.
Congratulations. How old is your son now?
He just turned 3.
He just turned 3. When do you find time
Yeah.
to write? Boys are so active.
Yeah. My window is 8 to 9 at night. I'm like, that's it. He goes to bed at 8. I have until 9 o'clock, and then I pass out because I'm exhausted.
It just gets worse as they get older. Don't worry.
Oh, great.
I don't know. Boys are just, wow, they're so busy.
Yes.
All right. So what's your goal for the series?
To eventually get to a happily ever after. But as you mentioned, it's pretty dark, so there's going to be a lot of speed bumps to get to that point.
Do you think it's good for the young adult audience, since I don't know what happens in book 2? I thought book 1 was good for the younger audience. There are some dark spots, like what is Jet really, and where is he going? You're so,
I'm not giving that away.
No, don't give anything away. I mean, you were so good about hiding these things. You're like, whoa, he could be really a bad influence, you know?
Yeah. With Jet, though, like the whole point of his character is to have that redemption at some point. So he used to be a really, really bad guy, but maybe he's not such a bad guy anymore. So we'll see where he's going.
And how long was he locked up?
100 years.
Yeah. You figured they'd want redemption by then.
You would think, yeah.
But it's still so hard because you're like bouncing back and forth between maybe? I don't know. I don't know if I can forgive him. I don't really know what he did, but it looks really bad.
Yes.
Does that come out in book 2?
It's more in book 3. So book 2, we get a glimpse at his past and who he was as a person before he ended up in prison. But book 3 is when a lot of the secrets are going to come out, and Nix is going to have to decide, like, is this guy worth keeping around, or do I need to kick him to the curb?
Which is always hard, especially in high school when you started it.
Yes. Yeah.
Who are you going to keep for friends? Will your friends stick by you?
Yes.
I thought you did a really good job with bringing all of those elements of growing up mixed in with this high adventure.
Yeah.
Really, I have a grandmother and I'm a princess in another world? Sure.
Yep. Yeah, okay. I'll have whatever you're smoking.
Right. It was so fun, though. I love the way you twisted everything together. There was, there were parts that were really sinister and you weren't sure which way it was going to go. So you had to keep reading until the middle of the night.
Yep. Yes.
And so now you're writing full time. Oh, what did you go to school for? Did you go to college?
I went to Texas A&M in College Station, and I got my degree in agricultural communications and journalism.
Oh, well, the journalism definitely fits into the way that you wrote this story. Agriculture, I guess, yeah, with the love for the outdoors, that fits in.
Yeah, that's, I think, inspired a lot of the Well, I grew up with horses, so I was like, I have to write her as a horse girl. Like that only makes sense. So that's also kind of why I was like, well, I want to do something with agriculture, with horses, maybe, and I also want to do something with writing because that's what I'm good at. So that's kind of why I went the direction I did.
Wow. Did you ever hold any jobs that had an agricultural aspect to them?
I volunteered for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. So I did that. I'd done that a few times. When I was a kid, we used to do they have a big trail ride every year, and the trail riders come in, and on Saturday when they have the parade that kicks off the rodeo, the trail riders will ride through the parade. So we did that when I was a kid. We used to we'd skip school for a week and ride our horses into town. So that was always really fun. So not so much a job, but lots of extracurriculars.
Wow. What's a rodeo like? I haven't been to a live rodeo.
It's fun. It's really fun. I love it. The last year that we went, which was not last year because of COVID, but we had tickets that were close enough to the arena that when the horses would go by, you could smell the dust coming up from the arena, even though we're in this huge stadium. So it was really fun. It's really exciting.
Wow. Well, that would explain some of the excitement and twists that you create in your stories.
Yeah.
What else do you do for fun?
Well, I used to like to nap before my son came along, but now I don't do that anymore. I really like to read. I actually really, really enjoy a lot of other indie authors that I've met over the years. Their stuff is great. So it's like this little hidden niche world of these people that I've never heard of, but their books are amazing and their stories are great. So I really like to spend time reading other people's stuff. And then I like to watch movies, of course. I really enjoy sci-fi movies. So I've seen Star Wars. It's not my super favorite, but I enjoyed it.
What's your Disney super movies. Favorite?
Okay, so right now it's a toss-up. And this is going to sound really silly compared to my writing, right? I love Mulan, the animated version, not the real life version, and Moana. Mulan and Moana are my two favorite Disney princesses, and I could sit down and watch that movie anytime that it comes on. Love it.
Oh, I think you actually can see some of that in your writing. You know, the magical aspects of it that just draw you into the storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also have those whiplash turns, too.
Yes.
So I expected a much older author. I was so surprised. You look like you're in your early 20s.
I actually just turned 31 this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Still young. So I thought you would be older. It was really well done. So tell me, you tried is it NaNoWriMo? That word count?
Yes, the National Novel Writing Month. Yeah. So
how did you do in that?
With this book, I did it. I surpassed it easily. The goal is 50,000 words, and I think I hit 100,000 that year. So I did really well in that one, but I haven't been able to complete one since then. So.
And you had to write 100,000 words in just a month, right?
The goal is 50,000 to win, but yeah, I went over and did 100 because I'm an overachiever like that.
Yeah, you're definitely the overachiever. And how much would you say it's changed since you originally started it?
You wouldn't recognize it. It's totally different. Pretty much the only thing that's the same is the character names. I actually have a very, very first original draft. And in that draft, Jet was actually a vampire. So it's very different.
It seems like you wanted to move away from all the norms, and you did a
Yeah.
great job.
Oh, thank you. Whenever I was writing it was when Twilight was really, really popular. And so my husband at the time, my boyfriend, he was like, oh, it's just like Twilight. And I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So that was definitely a big driver for me is no, I don't want it to be like Twilight.
Is that when he threw it out?
Yes.
And your husband dug it out for you?
Yes. I was like, I hate it. I don't want to look at it anymore. It's gone.
Well, how did you turn it around and rewrite it?
So I actually spent a lot of time talking to my husband. I was like, okay, like this is what I want to do. Do you think this is going to work? Because he's like me. He loves to read. He's definitely a book aficionado. And, he was like, this is the way that I think you should do it. And these are the things I think you should change. And I was like, well, do you think I should leave all these other details in there? And he was like, no, you need to take those out because those are not interesting. And, so he was just very upfront with me about this is the way you need to do it. So he definitely had a big hand in it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is there really a Lucky, Texas?
No, there's not. And I actually checked because I didn't want to write about a place that really existed because I wanted that flexibility to make stuff up.
We have a great imagination because
Thank you.
Lucky totally didn't fit what was going on in this poor kid's life.
Yes, yes.
And what about book 3? Did she ever get to meet up with her Earth friends?
So I don't want to give away the ending because that'll ruin the whole thing.
All right. So
but,
do they just show up again or do they get to meet again?
Yeah, she does get to see Anna again, but it won't be until book 4.
Wow. How many books are in the series?
4.
4.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Well, you lead a pretty exciting life there. I love the whole horse aspect. I love how you included it in the story. Is there really a forest in Texas, though? I think we think of Texas as kind of flat and dry.
So Texas has a lot of different areas, actually. Like where I live in Houston, there's a lot of wetland, and if you go down like to the southwest, you get into the marshy areas and things like that. They've got all the nature preserves there where you can go down and see the alligators and things. And then in East Texas, which is kind of where Madisonville is, you have a lot of pine forests, pine trees everywhere, these big, tall, skinny pine trees everywhere. And then as you move towards West Texas, Central Texas, you get hills and things like that. Like Austin is very hilly. And then West Texas is very dry and kind of deserty, like you would imagine.
Oh, well, you did a really good job bringing out the landscapes in your state. Yeah. That was really well done, really visual. I like all the young relationships that were developing, the parties they went to, who hooked up with who. That was really cute. But in the same kind of problems that develop, when you're drinking and not supposed to be.
Yes.
So was there any particular message that you wanted to get out to young people when you started writing it the second time versus the first time?
I think initially it was just I want to tell my story, but over time it's turned into everybody has problems growing up and everybody's problems are different. And so you think that your problems are just yours and that nobody else knows what you're experiencing, but that's not true because everybody's been there.
You were really good about bringing up a lot of problems with different people and how they were handling it, how other people reacted to it. I love the way everything played out. Exceptional, exceptional imagination.
Thank you.
So after this series, do you have another one planned?
I'm working on a sci-fi series, which is a big diversion from this fantasy series. But I've had feedback from both my husband and another writer friend of mine. They read a short story that I wrote, and they were like, "This is the best thing you've ever written. Is there going to be more?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I'm working on that.
That must get you ready. So do you have editors that help you with the language and getting everything straight?
Nope. I've always been perfectionist about that kind of stuff. So I spend a lot of time going back through it and letting it sit so that I have fresh eyes. And that's part of why the process takes so long, is because I'm like, I can't look at it for at least a month, so that whenever I go back, I can see the errors and things like that. So I do it all myself.
It's exceptionally well done.
Thank you.
I thought you at least had one other editor. Do you have beta readers?
Nope.
No, just your husband? And his feedback?
And my grandma.
And your grandmother?
And my grandma.
What does she think of the stories?
I tell everybody she's my biggest fan.
Is the queen character modeled after your grandmother?
No, I'm not sure who she's modeled after. I would have to think about that one, but I don't think she really, not so much.
And your best advice for young people to get into writing?
Just do it. Write a lot, read a lot. Don't be worried about what the content is, because I spend a lot of time worrying about, like, is this okay? Just write it and go with it, and it will evolve over time.
Great advice. And how long did it take you to write 100,000 words? Were you off school and everything else for that whole month?
So I had Thanksgiving break, so that's when I did the bulk of it. So I probably wrote 50,000 words over Thanksgiving break.
That's only a week.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing so much about how you created the Return to Royalty.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions. And if you want a great, fun book for young readers, Return to Royalty with E. Paige Burks will not let you down. We'll see you soon.